My hypocritical sister called me a murderer over my pro-choice views. So I exposed her secret abortion to her devastated husband. I, 23F, am pro-choice. My older stepsister, Jane, 29F, is very pro-life and often refers to abortion as murder. She's married to John, 32NM, who is also quite religious and against abortion. Jane and John follow very strict Christian values and are vocal about it. My parents, dad and stepmom, who raised me since I was 4, are pro-choice when it comes to cases of rape, incest, and the life of the mother, as well as supporting D&Cs for non-abortive purposes. On Sunday, yesterday, we were having a family brunch after we had gone to church. My parents and I are Presbyterian, and Jane and John are Baptist, when the topic of abortion came up because Jane and John's pastor brought it up. Jane started her usual speech about how abortion is murder and how anyone who supports it is going against Christian values. I've heard this countless times, and I usually try to stay out of it to keep the peace, as do my parents. This time, though, she specifically called me out, saying I'm a disgrace to our family and to God because of my pro-choice views. She went on and on about how I'm not living according to Christian values and how disappointed she is in me. Revealing I had to have an abortion in high school, I had a uterine fistula removed via D&C when I was 17, saying I should repent for my sin. I was tired of her holier-than-thou attitude and the constant judgment, but revealing my medical history to her husband was the last straw for me. So, in the heat of the moment, I snapped and said, "At least I'm not a murderer by your standard, but you are." Referring to the fact that Jane had an abortion in college, which she had confided in me a few years ago when she was drunk. Jane's face went white, and John looked shocked. He had no idea about the abortion. Jane stormed out of the room and John followed, demanding answers. Now, the whole family is upset with me for exposing Jane's secret and causing a huge rift in their marriage. Jane is furious and won't speak to me. My parents are disappointed, and John is devastated. I feel bad for how things turned out, but I'm also angry that Jane keeps shaming me for my beliefs when she hasn't been honest about her past and was acting like a huge hypocrite. Ada? Update 1. I'm still reeling from everything that went down. It's been a few days and things have only gotten more complicated. Jane hasn't reached out to me directly, but I've heard through the family grapevine that she's staying at a friend's house for now. John is apparently devastated and has been calling her nonstop, trying to get answers. My parents are caught in the middle and don't know how to handle the situation. I had a long talk with my dad and stepmom last night. They're upset with me for what they see as stooping to Jane's level, but they also admitted that they understand why I snapped. My dad especially was disappointed that it had to come to this, but he acknowledged that Jane's constant judgment and hypocrisy were bound to cause an explosion at some point. My stepmom was more concerned about how this would affect our family dynamics moving forward. She's trying to play peacemaker, but even she admitted that Jane was out of line with her comments about my medical history. As for Jane and John, it seems like their marriage is hanging by a thread. John is questioning everything now, not just about Jane's past, but about their whole relationship. Jane has always been so vocal about her beliefs, and now that this secret has come out, it's like John doesn't even know who she is anymore. I feel guilty because I never wanted to cause this kind of pain, but at the same time, I can't help but feel that Jane brought this on herself by constantly attacking me and others for not living up to her standards. I've been getting a lot of mixed reactions from the rest of the family. Some are siding with Jane, saying I should have kept my mouth shut and that what she did in the past is irrelevant. Others are quietly supportive of me, acknowledging that Jane's hypocrisy needed to be addressed. It's a mess, to say the least, and I'm not sure where we go from here. I've decided to give everyone some space and focus on myself for now. I'm planning to stay with a friend for a while to clear my head and get away from all the drama. I still believe that what I said needed to be said, but I can't help but feel the weight of the consequences. It's going to take time for this to settle, and I honestly don't know if our family will ever be the same after this. Update 2. It's been about a week since everything blew up, and things have only gotten more intense. Jane finally reached out to me, but it wasn't to apologize or try to mend things. Instead, she sent me a long, angry text accusing me of destroying her marriage and ruining her life. She said she never wanted John to know about the abortion and that now he's questioning their entire relationship. She even accused me of being jealous of her perfect life and trying to sabotage it. I didn't respond to the text because, honestly, I don't know what to say. I'm not jealous of Jane, and I never wanted to hurt her. But I also can't ignore the fact that she's been making my life miserable for years with her constant judgment and moral superiority. I tried to keep the peace for so long, but I guess there was only so much I could take before I finally snapped. John, on the other hand, actually reached out to me directly. He asked if we could meet up and talk, and I agreed. We met at a coffee shop, and it was one of the most awkward conversations I've ever had. He was clearly still in shock and didn't really know how to process everything. He asked me a lot of questions about Jane's abortion and why she would keep something like that from him. I tried to be as honest as possible without getting too personal. I told him that Jane was really struggling at the time and that it was a difficult decision for her. I also told him that I hadn't intended to reveal her secret, but I felt pushed to the breaking point by her constant attacks. John seemed to appreciate my honesty, but it was clear that he was deeply hurt and confused. He told me that he's been reevaluating his entire relationship with Jane and that he's not sure if he can stay with someone who's been hiding such a significant part of her past from him. I could see the pain in his eyes, and it made me feel even worse about the whole situation. Meanwhile, my parents are still trying to mediate between Jane and me, but it's not really working. My dad is leaning more towards supporting me, while my stepmom is torn between wanting to defend Jane and being upset with her for how she's treated me over the years. It's causing tension between them too, and I hate seeing how this is affecting everyone. As for me, I'm still staying with my friend and trying to figure out what to do next. I feel like I've lost my family in a way, and I'm not sure if things will ever go back to normal. But I also know that I couldn't keep living under Jane's judgment forever. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm trying to take it one day at a time and focus on healing from all of this. Update 3. So it's been a month since everything came crashing down, and a lot has happened. I've moved back home, but things are still really tense between me and my family. Jane and John are still separated, and it doesn't look like they're getting back together anytime soon. John has been staying with a friend, and Jane moved back in with my parents for a while, which has made things really awkward for everyone. My parents are still walking on eggshells around both of us. My dad has tried to have a few heart-to-heart talks with Jane, but she's still too angry and hurt to really listen. My stepmom is more focused on trying to support Jane emotionally, but she's also been pretty distant with me since everything happened. It's like she's torn between her loyalty to her daughter and her understanding of why I snapped. I get it, but it still hurts. Jane and I haven't spoken directly since that angry text she sent me, but I did write her a letter trying to explain how I felt and why I said what I said. I apologized for how everything came out, but I also stood by the fact that her constant judgment and hypocrisy were too much for me to handle. I don't know if she's read it or if it made any difference, but I felt like I needed to say my piece. As for John, he's filed for a legal separation. I don't know if they'll end up divorcing, but it seems like they're both taking some time to figure out what they want. John is still really hurt by Jane's secrecy, and Jane is dealing with a lot of guilt and anger. I wish I could say that I feel good about the truth coming out, but honestly, it's just a big mess. I've been spending more time with friends and focusing on my own mental health. This whole situation has taken a huge toll on me, and I'm trying to rebuild some sense of normalcy. I've started seeing a therapist to work through everything, and it's been helping. I'm learning to set boundaries and not take on the burden of other people's judgments. The rest of the family is still divided. Some are supporting Jane and think I should have kept my mouth shut, while others think she got what was coming to her. It's hard to say where things will go from here, but I'm trying to keep my distance from the drama and focus on my own well-being. I wish I had a more positive update, but the truth is, this situation has been incredibly painful for everyone involved. I'm not sure if our family will ever fully recover, but I'm doing my best to move forward and find some peace. At the end of the day, I know that I had to stand up for myself, even if it meant losing some relationships along the way. I just hope that, with time, we can all find a way to heal and maybe even rebuild some of the bridges that have been burned.